Hello, I'm Tylah Tully, and today I'm joined by Future Battery Minerals Managing Director and CEO Nick Rathjen. Nick, can you walk us through the latest drilling results? What do they tell you about the project?
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. Well, these results were obviously the second batch of our Phase 1 RC program at Miriam, which is located in our broader 100% owned Coolgardie gold and lithium project. And the program was a modest preliminary drill program of 1900 metres, looking to infill and extend the forest prospect, but also to commence initial testing of the 1.75 kilometre long geophysical and geochemical target called Canyon that we generated and that had never been drill tested before. So the forest assays were announced a few weeks ago, and really highlighted the material step change in the thickness, grade and potential size of forest, with a standout result of 31 metres at 1.6 grams from 28 metres depth downhole. And the results today related to the Canyon target, where we undertook shallow RC drilling of a few hundred metres within that 1.75 kilometre prospect, just to get an initial understanding of the target's potential prospectivity. It was also good to test our theory of the Miriam shear as a prospective conduit for gold. So the shear that we've famously coined runs 6.2 kilometres through the centre of Miriam. And it coincides with not only the forest prospect, but also our other prospects as well, being Forest South, Burbanks, Monarch, and now Canyon. So really excited to finish the program and to get all the results in.
So what does this mean for Future Battery Minerals?
These results are really meaningful for FBM for a number of reasons. One, we've been able to identify strong gold anomalism within the regolith. So within that oxidated area where we've drilled, particularly, and the standout hole being hole number 1, with a 20 metre hit of 0.55 grams per tonne of gold at 28 metres downhole depth, really highlights that there's mineralisation remains open to the east, to the north, and also at depth. So there's a really good opportunity now that we feel that we're coming into more of a gold system over on the eastern side of our drilling there. There's more opportunity to grow around that intercept. And then secondly, within the area of Canyon, the target that we tested, we've been able to understand where the gold anomalism sits. So now that we've been able to identify where it sits on the Miriam shear, where this target sits on the Miriam shear, and have intercepted that gold mineralisation hole 1, we can now look to target further testing at Canyon, again, along and within that mineralised structure that we've now been able to identify. And the third thing is we can now see a much larger potential gold system at Miriam. So now that we've confirmed our concept of the Miriam shear, which obviously was validated with forest, the target that was already there, now we've been able to confirm it with Canyon. We've got over 6.2 kilometres of strike to test across this area, and it also includes Burbanks, Monarch and Forest South, 2 other regional targets that have plus 10 metres at above 1 gram that we think are really good targets to follow up on in future programs as well. So it really amplifies our excitement of the gold prospectivity on the ground at Miriam, but also really solidifies our focus on testing this ground's potential moving forward.
And in terms of geology, what is this area like in terms of discovery?
Yeah, this is one of, if not the best areas to be in WA gold in the greenstone belts here. And the reason being is that the Coolgardie greenstone belt hosts a suite of mafic and ultramafic units along with felsic intrusions, and Miriam really has a number of formations and key structures and trends that host multiple nearby gold deposits. So you've got the Burbanks deposit, which is contiguous to Miriam, so just next to Miriam, at 500,000 ounces at 2 grams, which historically mined 400,000 ounces at 10 grams. Beacon Minerals, which is currently operating and mining the McPherson Reward deposit, had 132,000 ounces. And importantly on this belt, the Focus Minerals 2.7 million ounces with the Coolgardie operation. And obviously over to the west, you've got Bulla Bulling with Mineral 260 at over 2.4 million ounces as well. So it's a really prolific and well-endowed belt. And what excites us about Miriam is that it sits surrounded by these large-scale deposits. And until our Phase 1 drilling program, the project hasn't been drilled for 30 years. And that really left Miriam largely untested, or when there was limited testing with air core on the ground over 30 years ago. they've been able to identify gold mineralisation that's really undertested, that we can go back and look to drill in future programs, as I said, with these regional targets. So it's an exciting opportunity for us, not only with the work that's already been done there and what we see on the ground today, but now confirming that the mineral share is a potential conduit for gold along this 6.2 kilometre strike. It's about us doing a lot more work and following up this testing moving forward.
And finally, what can investors expect in news flow?
Yeah, we've got a pretty heavy set of news flow coming into the end of the year and definitely then backing it up next year. But specifically what we've got around the corner is single metre assays from the previously announced forest targets. So they're due in October. And then now with the Canyon results in, we'll do single metre testing and assaying on those, and they're due in November. And what that really helps us do is better understand the higher grade sections of what we're seeing in our drilling, and therefore be more targeted on where to look in future programs. But now that we've got all the assays back from phase 1, we're really kicking off the phase 2 program imminently, and have expanded that program to over 3,000 metres to further test the high-grade extension of forest that we could see in the fresh, but also the oxide extension that we saw on the western flank, and looking at that obviously within the oxide zone, but also at depth. But obviously now having discovered gold mineralisation at Canyon, we obviously planning to go back and doing some further definition along that mineralised Miriam shear, and also to introduce one of the other regional prospects being Forest South, which I mentioned before, had 16 metres at a gram from 44 metres of downhole. And what that gives us, that's really that connecting point between that 1.5 kilometre distance between Canyon and Forest, and again along that shear. So really sort of testing what the potential sits along there. So the program's scheduled to be completed in September, with first assays to come in late October, early November. So plenty of good news and good activity before the end of the year.
Yeah, we look forward to it. Nick, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
For more ASX news and analysis, subscribe below.